Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Sec Your Business podcast. I know brand new because the background is brand new too. I just moved offices, so we're just setting up now. So yeah, that's part of the brand new. And on this brand new episode today, we'll be talking to a digital marketer. He's Jeff Barnes. Jeff Barnes is the founder of the Digital Evolution Marketing Group, that's DMG, which is an AI advertising and marketing agency. And today we'll discuss business, digital marketing, and hopefully at the end of this episode, we'll have one or two tips you can apply in your business, apply in your marketing, and get ahead with tech, because that's what we do here at Tech Your Business. So welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So what are the biggest digital marketing mistakes you see businesses make?
Oh man. Well, that's a big one because there's all sorts of them. I see businesses all over the world and every type of business that we work with that they don't start with a proper foundation. I would say first things first is you want to figure out what the goal is of doing any marketing, any advertising, any outreach, anything that's going to be seen by the rest of the world. You want to figure out what that goal is. And so if you back into marketing from what your goal is, which for most businesses, it's to generate more leads, get more people booked on phone calls or more conversions on your website and generate more sales or more revenue and more profits, right? That's the goal of marketing and advertising, is to generate sales and profits. Well, if you're going to back into that, then you need to know that your advertising dollars and everything you're doing for marketing is being held accountable. And the only way you know that is through proper analytics. So I would say that one of the biggest mistakes that I see marketers make, and this goes for whether it's a media buyer, if it's somebody who's doing email marketing, somebody who's doing search engine optimization, social media marketing, direct response advertising of any kind, including direct mail, radio advertising, TV advertising, it doesn't really matter. If you cannot track whatever you're doing and hold that time and that money accountable for results, then you might as well just be putting money down the toilet, right? Because you don't know what's actually generating the results that you want in your business. And so one of the very first things that we do as an agency is we do a complete audit of someone's website to find out if their technology is set up properly just to track things, right? So something as simple as making sure your Facebook pixel's installed on your website properly, or you have Google Analytics set up, or some sort of analytics that you're able to track. Those are really, really simple to do. They are getting a little bit more complex because there's so many ways to do it. But if you don't have that in the very first place, you don't have any ability to track what's happening on your website or inside of your marketing.
And that's something that's one mistake a lot of businesses have seen them make too, because a lot of people advertise because they see other people advertising, they heard that they should advertise, so they just get a credit card, puts money on one of the platforms, AdWords or Facebook, and just put up out ads. And like you said, they don't have any goals, they don't have any tracking, they're just spending money. Some get lucky, some don't.
Most don't, right? Most of the time you're spending a lot of money on advertising and you're wondering why you're not generating sales. And it's frustrating because you can't pinpoint what the problem is. I'll give you an example. I was just on a call with a client and we're not managing their Google ads. And as of today, we will start managing their Google ads because he said, well, I'm not getting the results I wanted. Can you help me figure out why this might be? And so we got on there and looked at it, and I didn't even have to do anything other than show him what the results were that he was getting and what was happening. And he said, well, this is just I can't even believe we're sending traffic to that page. Why would we even do that? That's not even a page we manage or we use. It's like, well, that's how somebody set it up. I don't know. But if you don't have analytics to track this stuff, then you're not going to know if it's a good place to send traffic or not.
Yeah, so what you said is true, because when you look at the interface of a lot of these platforms, like the AdWords you talked about, it's intimidating. It's intimidating. So it's something that not everyone can just look at and get the grasp of. So for small businesses just getting started with digital marketing on these platforms, what are the first few those critical things that you recommend that they should focus on?
Yeah, so the very first thing, if you're a small business owner, you need to look at what we call your customer journey. And that is, how do people find you? How do they interact with you? And then how do they eventually do business with you? And most small business owners don't even think about this. They still have this mentality of, if I put a website up and I put a sign over my door, people will show up and they'll do business with me. And that's not true. There's so much competition. Unless you are the only person in your entire industry and you also solve a really big problem that everybody needs solved, you're going to have competition. So there's no one that doesn't have any competition. So what we want people to think about is, what is the journey that people have to take to eventually become a customer or client of yours? So for example, if most of your time that you spend doing outreach, which we could call it advertising, but it is part of marketing. But if you're posting on social media, then what you want to do is you want to go and find your posts as if you are a guest. So what would somebody else see that post look like? And then if they see that post, what's their next thing that they're going to do? Are they going to click on a link in the post? Are you expecting them to go to your page? Are you expecting them to go to your website? What are you trying to get them to do? So one of the biggest things that really frustrates me is when these social media agencies say that, oh, we're great at getting social media posts out there and putting all this stuff out. Great, that's wonderful. It's beautiful that we have social media engaged or social media posts, but there's no engagement because you're not actually using social media the right way. You're not being social about it. You're just posting a whole bunch of stuff that no one cares about. And honestly, most people are never going to see. So it's just a waste of time. And then secondarily, if you do have a call to action, is it clear? Is it easy for somebody to find what that call to action is? Because I see a lot of people putting these incredible, beautiful Facebook posts out, Instagram, and even videos on TikTok. It's all incredible, but there's no call to action. And people need to be told what to do. So they might watch a video, they might look at a picture like, oh, that's pretty. But is it easy for them to now do business with you? And if it's not, then you need to figure that out, right? So I would say, look at your business and your journey as if you are a customer, and you will quickly start finding why people are not coming to you, why people are not coming to your website, why people are not doing business with you. It's not necessarily because they don't want to. It might be A, because they can't find you, right? You're hidden. And so no one has any visibility into you. It might be B, that it's too difficult, right? There's websites out there that will help you manage your website performance. And if somebody clicks on your website link, even if they find you, like they find you on social media, they find you on Google, wherever, and they click on you, and it takes 5-10 seconds for your page to load, they probably leave before they even get to your website. So are you checking your performance of your website? Are you checking all these little things? They all add up, right? And it's the equivalent of, if you were driving around. You said you're south of Nigeria. I've never been there, but I can only imagine that somebody like me that's coming into a new country for the first time, if I'm going to go try and find a business or a person or go to a hotel or something like that, if I can't find my way around, if I can't figure out navigating the street, if I can't find you on a map, if I have to take a detour because a road is closed, what am I going to do? I might just eventually give up even trying, right? Even though I wanted to go to this one place, I may give up. It's the same thing online, right? You need to make it easy for people to find you. Then you need to make it easy for people to do business with you. So there's lots of little things that you can do along the way. None of them are mind blowing. It's just, does your website load? Do you have calls to action on your social media? Is your brand consistent? Are you saying the same thing in most places? Like simple little things like that can actually make a big difference long term.
You touched on a really, really salient point there about the customer journey, because I made that same mistake too before. Till, like you said, I got to a point where I started thinking like the customer, because there were times, there was a time when long ago I had an e-commerce site where we just have people view the ad and buy. So I didn't understand that there are times where people view the ad, but they won't buy at that point. They'll buy much later. It was much later when I stopped that business. I realized a lot of times I might just look at a product, it's nice. I'll buy it a year later. And that's an illustration of what you just said about the customer journey. So touching the second point you raised about content, creating content that doesn't get engagement, that's difficult to interact with and doesn't get conversions. What are your top tips for creating compelling content that drives engagement and conversions?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer because it's different for every single environment. Some people, they want to hear from the expert. They want to be able to interact and engage with them. So they might be expecting a live from you every day, every week, things like that. I've done things on Clubhouse and, of course, Instagram Reels and Facebook Stories and TikTok videos and all those sorts of things. And you never know what's going to land with people. Sometimes you might get a lot of views of a video, but zero people are coming to your website as a result. Well, was it just entertaining? And that's all well and good if that's what you want to be. But if you want them to actually take a response, then you need to look at it a little bit differently. So here's what we really look at is curiosity is a big one. You see an accident on the road, you cannot turn your head away, right? You want to see it. Everybody wants to look at it. All of us are mortified if it's a bad accident. We don't want to see that, but on the other hand, we can't look away. So curiosity, things that are going to be scroll stoppers and pattern interrupts. So if you hear something or see something that makes you go, well, that doesn't make any sense. What do they mean by that? And then you want to dig into that. So those are the hooks that can get you in. So curiosity based is really good. Another thing that we find gets a lot of engagement is when somebody they want a question answered, right? You're asking me questions. If you're asking me a question, then my guess is you're going to be engaged with that. And my other guess and assumption is that you're not the only one that has that question. So if you were to ask me a question and I were then to go ahead and respond to that question, then other people are going to say, oh, that's great, right? So I do Facebook Lives and webinars at least once a week with people on different topics. And we end up getting a lot of people engaging in the comments in the chat. We go like, yeah, that's great. I didn't know you could even do that. I didn't know this was possible. So things like that are good for my brand. Now, if you're a small business owner and you don't want your personal brand to be known, which I don't know why you would in this day and age, but if that's the case, then you need to start tailoring whatever content you're putting out there to your ideal client. What would they want to hear? What would they want to see? And sometimes it's just a matter of being out there and being relevant, right? Just putting stuff out there just so that they know you still exist. But if you want to start driving engagement, then you need to be specific to what they're looking for.
Amazing. Amazing answer so far. So, how can business owners effectively integrate and coordinate their social media content, their email marketing, and also their paid ad strategies so everything has the consistent branding, a consistent message, like you mentioned earlier, and speaks to the customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is something that we actually spend a lot of time on with our agency is that the first thing you have to do is plan out your marketing. You can't just wing it. You can't just say, oh, well, today I'm going to go ahead and do a social media post, and tomorrow I might do a blog, and next week I might do an email. You can't do that. You have to be very consistent with everything you do. So I'll just give you our, secret sauce, if you will. It's not a secret at all, but no one can manage to pull it off. So it seems like it's such a secret and incredibly intelligent. All it comes down to is you choose a theme, you choose a topic, you choose something, and you say, okay, this week we're going to focus on this topic, right? So for me, as a digital marketer and agency owner, I might say, hey, let's talk about getting ranked on page 1 for Google, right? How do you do that? So here's what I do. I will do a video and I will either something like this where I'm interviewing somebody's interviewing me, or I just speak to the camera. And I might talk for 20 to 30 minutes. So now I've just done a brain dump into a camera for 20 to 30 minutes. Well, guess what? That becomes a YouTube video, long form YouTube video. Well, 20 to 30 minutes, I can generally get about 15 to 20 short form clips out of that. So now I have to have somebody go and cut that down and turn that into social media clips. And so if I do, let's just say I get up to 21, I could do 3 posts per day for an entire week. That's great. So now I have a long form video and I have 21 short form clips that can be reels, TikTok videos, whatever. That's wonderful. Now I can also take that long form, I can turn that into a blog post because I've just talked about something that I'm a thought leader on. And I can say, now I'm going to turn this into a blog. That's great. Okay, so now we have long form video, we have social media clips, and we have a blog. So I've covered all the outbound stuff, but now people need to find it. Okay, well, if I have a database, I then want to create an email, and that email is going to drive people to either watch the video or to go to the blog. And maybe on the blog, I embed the video. So now every single week I can have a video posted on our website, a video posted on YouTube. I can have social media posts getting out there, and I can send an email out to everybody letting them know about that. And if I have budget, we might go ahead and boost a post on social media to drive traffic back to that blog, right? So it's intentional marketing, and it's all focused on one topic. So everything is focused on that one thing. So now if you have a big enough database or a big enough budget, people who are interested in your topic are seeing you everywhere. They're seeing you on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on LinkedIn. They're getting the posts on Twitter. They're then going and reading your blog. And then if you're smart about it and you actually are spending money on advertising, you're taking retargeting cues from all of these different platforms. You're saying, hey, you just read this post on XYZ. Would you like to have somebody else talk to you about how you can implement this in your business? Click here. Then they go to a landing page, right? That's how you put the whole thing together. So it's all intentional. It's all, aligned properly. It's all branded properly. And there's a process for it, right? And you never know which video is going to work. You never know which topic is going to work because for the most part, the market chooses what they want to see and hear at a certain time, and it changes, right? It's not the same
Yeah.
thing every single time. So hopefully that was helpful. That's a lot to implement, but that's what we do.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because with so many digital marketing options and platforms, you just mentioned the difference. You mentioned TikTok, YouTube, and everything. And we all know business owners don't really have that much time to be everywhere at all times. So, how do you recommend business owners prioritize to pick what platforms would best serve them and their business?
Yeah. This is honestly most small business owners' biggest Achilles heel. It's their biggest problem is that they want to do everything and they can't. Unless you have a team behind you that can handle all this stuff, which I do, that's why I can get this stuff done. But if you don't have a team behind you and you're trying to do it all yourself, you've got to slow down. You got to pump the brakes. So what we suggest is that you choose one channel initially. And you say, okay, on this one channel, get really diligent about posting every single day. Do that for 30, 45 days. And it doesn't matter if it's a TikTok video that's only 60 seconds to 2 minutes long. That's fine. It could be Facebook doing a post every single day, Instagram doing a post every single day. Just pick one where you get good at it every single day. Okay. And speak to one person. That's the other thing. Don't try and speak to everyone. Speak to one person. Choose your avatar, right? So I might say, okay, Peter's my avatar. Peter's a small business owner who has a lot of things going on. He loves working in his business. Problem is he doesn't have anybody else helping with his marketing. So I'm going to say, hey, Peter, here's all the things that you should be doing inside of your business to help increase your overall visibility and get traffic and blah, 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 right? So I start talking to Peter instead of talking to everybody. Here's what everybody should do, right? No, here's what Peter should do. And then I get good at doing that. Well, here is a beautiful thing. There are tools out there like repurpose.io where you can post on one platform and you can now repurpose all of that content to all these other platforms. So now you find the platform that works for you, whether that's video, whether that's writing, whether that's blogging, whatever it is. You put that out there one time every single day and just get good at that. And if you can do that one thing, and you can be consistent with that one thing, people will start to find you. And the more that people start to find you, the easier it's going to be for you to convince them to do business with you, right? Because you start getting seen everywhere. Like for me, it's things like this, right? I've done about 20 podcasts in the past month. And that for me is the best way for me to get my information, my knowledge, our brand out there. And so now I'm getting seen by a lot of different people in a lot of different areas. And then we do the same thing I just talked about earlier. We repurpose everything and we make sure that everybody sees it on every platform that we're on. So that's what I would suggest. To start with one thing, get really good at that, find your voice, speak to one person, and do it consistently.
That's great advice. Speak to one person. All right. So at the beginning of the episode today and a couple of times, you talked about tracking. You talked about how important tracking is to make sure the money or the time you spend is actually giving you results. So what metrics or KPIs are most important for businesses to track the success of their digital marketing efforts?
So it's a good question. It's different for every single business, right? As far as what the numbers are. But I will say that you want to track funnel wide conversions, right? Or customer journey wide conversions. So again, what's the ultimate goal of marketing? It's to drive sales and revenue and increase profits as well, which means I need to know what my customer acquisition cost is, and I need to know what my customer lifetime value is. And your customer lifetime value is pretty easy to figure out. So, okay, what's their average order value multiplied by the number of purchases they're going to make throughout their entire lifetime engagement with you. So let's just say somebody buys something from you, it's $100 per purchase, and they buy one thing from you 3 years in a row. That's a $300 customer lifetime value. So now I have my lifetime value figured out. Well, that means that with having this $300, how much is my profit of that person? Well, let's just say I have a 50% profit margin. My cost of goods is roughly 50%. So now I'm not making $300 in profit. I'm getting $300 in revenue, but I'm getting $150 in profit. So ideally, what I can do is I can spend $150 per person to acquire a customer and still do it profitably if I've got my numbers figured out. So I've got to be able to figure that out. Now, what I need to track is what's my conversion rate in every step and how much is that costing me? So, for example, if we know that it costs us 3 cents per click to go visit a blog, whoop-de-doo, right? That doesn't really mean anything because they visited a blog. If they don't buy straight from that blog, it doesn't mean I got a 3-cent customer. It means it took 3 cents for them to come and visit one thing. So I might need to then track, okay, what's the next step? The next step is a conversion. So again, trying to make numbers easy because math on the fly is not always fun. But if it's 100 clicks at 3 cents a click, that's $3 to get 100 people to your website, which is really good actually. But if we got 300 or 100 people to come in at $3, but only one person moves to the next stage, which is to fill out an opt-in form, right? Then it's cost me $1 or one person for every $3 to become a lead. So your cost per lead is important, right? And we call these things CPAs, cost per action. So your cost per lead is now $3 per lead. That's great. Okay, now I know what my cost per lead is. Well, the next step from a lead is eventually becoming a paying customer. Well, if I have to get 100 leads to get one customer, then I just spent $300 to acquire one customer. So now the math doesn't work out, right? Because we said that we only make $150 in profit on one customer, and I just spent $300 per paying customer. So there's a lot of things you need to track along the way. You need to track conversions at every step. You need to figure out how you're going to optimize each of those conversions. And then ultimately you need to compare them. So that becomes your customer acquisition cost, right? I had $3 per lead, 100 people came, that's $300, 100 leads, that becomes $300, right? But I only get one purchase from all of those 300 people. Now I have, $300. Now I have a $300 customer acquisition cost. So if my customer acquisition cost is greater than my lifetime value, that's not a good thing. Okay. So those are the metrics you need to track to figure that out. It is challenging, especially if you're doing multimedia marketing and you're saying, okay, we did radio advertising, we did blogs, we did email marketing, we did social media posting, we did Facebook advertising, and we're doing Google pay-per-click, and we're doing retargeting. It gets expensive to measure all that. So what we suggest, just to make it really, really simple, right, for a lot of people is how much money did you spend on advertising and how much revenue did you make in that exact same period of time? Now, it's obviously not a direct correlation because you might have people that saw your advertising 6 months ago, like you were saying, and then finally decided to make a purchase. But that's the simplest, easiest way you can kind of look at is how much do you spend on marketing and advertising, which would include your email writing, your CRMs, your technology, everything you're using to acquire that. And then you can kind of loosely figure it out. But if you want to be really sophisticated about it, you have to measure every little channel. And that gets to be a lot.
Nice. That's really great. So for an existing business, when does it make sense to invest more heavily in digital marketing? So from your experience, what signs indicates for an existing business that investing in digital marketing can be highly profitable for it?
Well, you start by asking every single customer that comes in the door that buys from you where they heard about you, right? That's how you first know. If you find, like, let's just use, I used to run a chiropractic office, and we would ask people, where did you hear about us? How did you hear about us? Guess what? Most of them did not hear about us on social media. They found us on Google when they decided to search for chiropractor in my area. Well, that means I'm going to spend my time focusing my energy and my money on Google. because people are searching for answers on Google. People aren't searching for answers on social media, right? Social media is a place for them to just see you and hear about you, maybe take some interest, but they're not looking for you as a solution on social media. They're looking for you as a solution on search engines. So advertising where they are looking for the solution is the most important thing. So you ask your customers, hey, how'd you hear about us? And if they say, oh, it's from a referral, and you find out that 80% of your business is coming from word of mouth referrals, that's where you spend your money, right? You don't go out there and say, okay, I'm going to do a whole bunch of Facebook ads because of this. You say, well, what can I do to increase my referral marketing? But if they say, well, I'm finding you on Google because I was searching the map and I found you looking for a restaurant. Oh, we were looking for a restaurant in the area near where we live and we found you. Great. Let's figure out how to optimize that. If, on the other hand, you do have an e-commerce presence and you're putting products out there in the Facebook marketplace and you're using that or Google Shopping and you're tracking it, then you know, okay, people are buying because they're finding us on Facebook. Good. Let's go spend our time and money on Facebook. So it just comes down to, sometimes it's just a gut feeling, right? You may not know, you may not have any data to go off of to begin with, but the more customers you can ask, the better off you will be, because then you can know where to spend the time and attention.
Great. All right. So leaving smaller businesses, when you look at the larger businesses, more established enterprise brands, for those businesses, how does their digital marketing strategy and focus need to shift when compared to the smaller businesses? What are the key differences?
Well, it depends again on the type of business, right? If you're an e-commerce business and you're selling $100 million a year, you are literally tracking everything, right? You're tracking the entire customer journey. You're looking at every single website they visit. You're looking at every click on your website. You're looking at if they bought this product, were they more likely to buy this product? If I swap that out and I put this as a front end product, are they going to increase the conversions on a back end product or not? If they buy this product, how likely are they to come back within the next 30 days? Are they looking at, how many emails can we send out to increase our average order value and our customer lifetime value? And at what point is there a tipping point that says, hey, we're sending out too many emails, or we're sending out too many emails about this one product, or we're not sending enough, right? They're testing everything because they have a team, right? And when you're spending, like we were spending $3 million, or I'm sorry, we were making $3 million a month on our e-commerce, and we were spending upwards of $150,000 per day on Facebook advertising. So when we were doing that, we were tracking everything, right? And because of that, we knew where to spend our time and attention and energy. And we also knew where to geographically target our advertising dollars. So when you are really scaling up a business, you are measuring everything, okay? But that also depends on, when you talk about an enterprise level business versus a small business or even a startup, you have limited budget. And so you have to be very, very focused on how you spend that budget, because a startup and a small business is probably not doing a lot of brand awareness campaigns like, hey, we're your local chiropractor, come check us out, right? Just really basic, here's who we are, right? Putting money out on a billboard is generally not the best use of money for a small business owner, right? It just isn't. Now, sending emails to a targeted email list that you have curated through an opt-in and a lead magnet, that is a great way to spend your time and energy. So the shift comes when you get to a point that you can no longer profitably acquire customers without doing omni-channel marketing, right? Meaning being everywhere. And once you start to get to be everywhere, then you still want it to be direct response. You still want to track it. You still want to measure it. But you're all of a sudden realizing that you're increasing your customer lifetime value as long as they don't forget about you. And so that's why you see these really big brands out there, L'Oreal, Maybelline, the big cosmetic brands. You see Nike and Adidas, you see Pepsi and Coca-Cola. They don't know exactly where they acquired you as your first customer because they've been around for 100 years, right? But here's what they do know. If they stop advertising, you're going to forget about them, right? And it's not going to be the top of your mind when you go in. So as a result, a big brand starts getting to that brand awareness, but they still want to track everything that's happening along the way. So I don't know if that entirely answers your question, but that's kind of the big key differences we see.
Nice. All right. So AI has been a hot topic for the past couple of months. And at the beginning, I also mentioned that you are an AI advertising and marketing agency. So, how do you leverage AI in your work, marketing and promotions and co for businesses?
Yeah, appreciate that question. So AI is going to continue to evolve, and it's going to get better and better and better. And it's going to allow us to be better marketers. So most people are not copywriters. I spent years and I still continue learning about copywriting so that we can craft messages that are going to get people to want to take an action and buy from us. Well, that learning curve is shortening rapidly, which means that a small business owner can go into ChatGPT. They can even create their own GPTs now, which is pretty incredible. And they can start using those to come up with great emails, great blogs, great advertising headlines, great direct mail or postcards or radio advertising scripts, video sales letter scripts, all of these things. You can use AI to do that so that you don't have to worry about spending years learning all of it. Now, does that mean it's going to outperform an expert copywriter who has all this data? Maybe not. But is it going to be a lot better than somebody that doesn't know anything about copywriting who's just randomly putting stuff out? Absolutely. Right. So that's one way we do it. The other thing is repurposing content in a meaningful way without having to worry about how long it's going to take you to sit down and write up a transcript of a meeting you just had. Right. I was talking about doing those videos. Guess what? You get a transcript of that. You can turn that into blog posts and articles within minutes rather than spending weeks or months on it sometimes, because some people are terrible at getting down and just getting the content done. So those are some of the ways we're going to see it. Of course, using AI to help us craft advertisements and finding out what videos we should use and finding or even creating the images that we should be using. It's pretty powerful what AI can do right now. Conversational AI is another one that's really, really powerful. If somebody were to go to our website right now and start typing up stuff and asking for help, they're going to get a response from an AI. It's not me. It's not someone on my team that's sitting there 24/7 responding to every inquiry. It's people that are talking with an AI, and the AI is doing a really good job of helping people find what they need on our website.
Nice. All right. So going back to you, tell us a bit about yourself, about how you got into digital marketing, how you got into this space.
Yeah. So, just like I'd say a lot of people, when I was younger, I didn't want to have a boss. I didn't want to have somebody else dictating my life. And at the time I did, I was in the Navy. I was on a submarine running a nuclear power plant, and I didn't have much control and autonomy. So I decided, okay, I need to figure out how to take control of my life and do what I want, where I want, when I want, with whom I want, how I want, right? And that's been a lifelong journey. So that's how that got started. I was at a seminar. I'll never forget. I was at a seminar in 2006 and learning how to do real estate investing. And the gentleman who was teaching all of this stuff said, by the way, if you want to learn how to get really good at this, it's not about the deal stuff. I'll teach you all the deal stuff, but what you need to get good at is marketing. So you need to go learn from this guy, Dan Kennedy. So of course I went and studied Dan Kennedy, and I've been studying him ever since. I've been in his masterminds and things like that. And that got me into marketing and realizing that every business that scales and grows is actually a marketing business, right? Even though they sell a product, they're in the business of marketing, because if no one knows about your product, you don't have a product, right? You don't have a business, rather. So as a result, I started studying that, learned everything I could. Then I'm learning about the internet. I'm learning about digital marketing and digital advertising. And so I've been in mastermind after mastermind. I've partnered with some of the biggest names in digital marketing. I've worked with some of the biggest people that have actually built the technologies that most folks are aware of now. And so that's how I got started in it. Was 17 years ago, just really wanting to figure out how to take control of my life and realizing that how you construct words and messages and videos and things like that to get people to want to buy stuff from you, it's kind of the ticket.
Going back to the start of your career, going back to attending the seminar, to learning about marketing and things like this, if you're to go back to your younger self and give one piece of advice on probably getting to where you want to get to faster, or something, maybe mistakes you've made, what would be that piece of advice you give to younger Jeff?
I would go back and tell myself not to become the expert in all things. Um, I I have a real knack for being able to dive into something and figure it out, and that's great. But unfortunately, in certain cases, that stymies you, that limits your ability to grow. Because, for example, let's just use digital marketing in general. I've learned, I'm not going to say everything, that would be arrogant of me to say that, but I've learned about as much about digital marketing as a person really can in a very short period of time. And I know that there's still more for me to learn, so I'm always doing that. But the problem with that means is that I am now the expert that people come to. So if I want to go back to that whole idea of freedom and autonomy, that means that the way I make money is by people coming to me and needing my advice and my information. So it's great because I can charge a whole lot more money for it because I am that expert. But on the other hand, it also means I can't have a team doing everything if I haven't trained the team how to do that stuff. So by becoming the expert in a lot of different things, it limits your ability to get a lot of stuff done. Versus if you become an expert in leading people and finding the right team to build around you, you can go a lot further faster, right? So there's a saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? And so that's the idea, is that the further you want to go in anything in life, it means that you need to build a team around you and find a way to lead that team. So I would focus more on that than I did on probably anything else if I could go back and do it again.
Amazing. Really amazing. I think we all have that issue. So we've been talking for about almost 40 minutes now. And we've touched a couple of things. We've touched AI, we've touched digital marketing, and one or two things. So, if you have to leave the audience with one thing, probably something I might have missed or something I might have not touched, but you feel is important and you feel the average business owner, which is our audience, would get a lot of value from knowing, what would that thing be?
Yeah, it would be the same thing that I just said, which is focus on your zone of genius. What is that thing that you are so good at that no one else can be good at it or as good as you, right? In your business in the way of making money. And if you are that good at that thing, right? So for me, it is marketing strategy, right? And knowing how to put all the pieces together for a business to help them scale. It's that strategy and figuring out all the things that we need to do. If you find that zone of genius for you, don't veer into another lane and start doing those other things. Because the more you do those other things, the more it takes you away from the one thing that you should be doing, which is going to set you free, right? So if you continue to focus on little things, minutia, like for example, people are ridiculously anal about perfect punctuation and grammar, right? And so a lot of people will waste their time going through and editing and proofreading every little thing that goes out the door because they want to make sure it's perfect because they're so worried that somebody else is going to see that and completely disregard them. If a comma's in the wrong spot, they don't use a semicolon, or that they use the wrong version of there, right? And it's those little things, those OCD, if you want to call them, anal retentive aspects of people that hold them back. Instead of saying, this is the thing I'm good at, everybody else figure that stuff out. Yes, I want it to be right, but go figure it out. Like, don't spend your time, working on something that is not your core genius. That's what I would suggest people do.
True. Amazing. Amazing. All right. So, for listeners who would probably like to hear more from you, I know if we want to go deeper, if we want to tap your expertise over the years, we'll probably be talking to you next week. So, for listeners who would like to hear more from you, to learn from you, to work with you, or anything else, how can they reach you?
Yeah, the best place is demg.io. So that's Digital Evolution Marketing Group is our website. So demg.io. And we actually have a free marketing score quiz on there. So you can find out how well your marketing is doing if you go to that website and get that for free.
We'll link the websites in the show notes as well as the quiz. So anyone who listens and who wants to find out what their marketing score is can easily try out the quiz and find out. So thank you so much for coming on the Tech Your Business show today.
I appreciate it, Peter. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And for the guests, I've taken a lot of notes from this episode and I've learned a lot from this episode. So I'm sure you too you would learn a lot. We've talked about tracking. We've talked about your content using curiosity for as the hooks to make your content more show stopping and all that. We've talked about staying in your zone of genius. We've talked about a lot today. So if you've not learned anything from this episode and you're at this point, please go back to the beginning, go to a quiet place and listen, because this would picking maybe one or two things from this really make a big difference in your business. So thank you so much for being with us on this episode of the Tech Your Business podcast. Till next week when we are here again with another episode, don't forget to keep teching your business. Bye for now.